Nigerian mobility platform MAX.ng issued a 400 million naira one-year fixed-rate Series 1 bond under its newly structured 10 billion private company bond program. Guy Bertrand Njoya is the Chief Financial Officer of MAX.ng. He joins me now to share some details on that transaction. Thank you so much for your time. And for Guy, when you look at this, I'd like to first understand the reasons for you tapping into the capital market instead of the usual funding round for startups.
Well, thanks for having me, Ken. It's a great question. The reason I went to the capital market is to continue expanding our ability to tap into very cheap local capital. It is not really instead of going to the banking market, because we have been going to the banking market, continue going to the banking market. But it's really more about expanding our ability to raise finance and deploy that finance, that capital ultimately to our drivers, who are the ultimate beneficiary, right? So that enables us to have access to much more cost-efficient, source of finance, and then pass on those cost savings to the drivers and ultimately to the end users.
All right, but let's look at the timing, though. You're raising funds in the middle of a pandemic.
Yes, I mean, it's the timing is, I would say, a bit fortuitous, to be honest. It's something that we had been working on for over a year, right? So this is more the end of the process, rather. It's a process that we started late last year, right? Obviously it took that amount of time to demonstrate our various capabilities, our ability to manage, this type of, that amount of funding, right? Our ability to understand and mitigate the risks that come with deploying capital, that comes with financing drivers, that comes to ensuring that we generate returns, not only for ourselves as a business, but ultimately for the capital providers. Demonstrate the capabilities of our internal teams across our various, functions, not only our finance functions, but also our driver recruitment functions, which are very critical to ensuring that we bring onto our platform quality drivers that are safe, secure, credit-worthy. Our product and engineering team that build our product and solutions that enable us to deploy a very innovative, driver collection and revenue tracking system, where we're able to track the performance of every single asset in real time on a day-to-day basis, right? Such that any underperforming asset is quickly identified and cured before it impacts the overall performance of the portfolio, right? So we had to demonstrate those capabilities over a period of time to our capital providers, right? Obviously, the pandemic, slowed down things, somewhat, right? We had to continue demonstrating, we had to continue proving to the market that our business model is robust enough and is resilient enough and is defensible enough to, to weather, such an unexpected event, right? Which again, being able to do so was a testament to our very unique capabilities, right? Which we were able to do so. As you mentioned, we also faced some regulatory challenges, right? So we had to, in a very unexpected way, we had to demonstrate our ability to manage crisis, right? Which ultimately worked to our advantage, right? Because it really provided a lot more confidence to the marketplace that we're able to we understand our business. We have we're deploying a very sophisticated and robust and resilient business model, and it's this is the outcome. Being able to close this transaction is really a testament to those various capabilities. And also to I want to commend the investors that that have shown belief, that have continued showing belief in Max's mission and in Max's ability to to continue transforming the transportation sector across Nigeria and Africa, right? And that's really what it comes down to. It's ultimately belief in our transformation journey.
All right, interesting you're talking about the transformation journey. We'll get into that a little, but I want to understand the details of this bond, because I understand it's part of a larger private bond program that you are putting out in the part of the 10 billion that you're keeping out there, but this is just the first 400 million that is coming on board. When you look at how things are playing out, though, for MAX.ng, are you looking, when's the next likely time or timelines for the next issuance?
So what's very unique about this transaction is the fact that it's one of the unique things. Maybe the unique, one of the unique aspects of the transactions is the fact that it is called a program. So what is a program? A program is akin to a framework, right? So it's a framework within which we can basically go to the market at regular intervals, right? And continue issuing papers, notes, bonds, commercial papers to interested investors, whether in the private market or in the public market, right? So of total size of about $22 million, right? About 10 billion naira, right? The transaction we closed last month is the first bond under the program, is the first series number 1 under the program. What the program enables us to do is saves time in the fundraising process, right? So whilst it took us over a year to get this first transaction over the line, to get the program fully structured, right, and closed, any subsequent issue is expected to take significantly less time, right? Because the broader terms of the program are set already, right? So it's effectively a matter of going back to the shelf and pulling the next series and bringing it to the market, right? Without having to completely to renegotiate every single aspect of the transaction from scratch, right? So that's one unique aspect of it, right? Another very unique aspect of it is the type of funding that it is, right? So it is a securitization program. What is a securitization program? It's a funding process whereby an issuer like ourselves, so someone that goes to the market to raise finance, is able to take a set of assets, right, that are typically illiquid, right, and turn those assets into marketable securities that are therefore very liquid because they are marketable securities, and therefore can be traded, either over the counter in the private market or, in the public market, and therefore trade them as marketable securities, so they become fungible, right? And effectively, what we did is we took our pool of of finance assets, so our finance vehicles, motorcycles, tricycles, and certain classes of four-wheelers, and we're able to structure them in a way that investors can now invest in marketable securities that give them basically access to the returns generated by those assets, right? So now, if you believe, for investors that again believe in the work that we're putting in transforming the transportation space and see potential returns coming out of that sector, they don't need to be max to take an exposure to that. They don't need to be max to believe that, okay, if you finance a driver, you will generate, very robust financial returns, right? Because that requires knowing how to, that requires being able to recruit drivers, onboard them, train them, monitor them, build the technology infrastructure, all of those capabilities that are very unique to Max, right? Not everyone is capable of doing so. But someone may be interested in still generating the returns from that sector, right? So now we are providing an opportunity to the public, right? And to, financial investors to basically take an exposure to the returns that are generated in that space.